What's going on, everybody? It's lunch hour here at the Schweitzer household. So coming down, hanging out with my friends here on the podcast. Uh, some topics for today. We're going to talk about some TV shows of the fall. We're going to talk about the Caroline Lambray clip that's going around. I actually watched the full interview to get it in its context, and I do have some thoughts about that. And we're going to talk about some other stuff as well. My birthday dinner with my wife last night, not my birthday, her birthday dinner last night. And then a couple other just quick little hitters to finish off the lunch. But I'm going to start with the birthday dinner. Gosh, can't speak today. I got to tell you, doing this alone is the hardest thing for me right now. I'm really trying to kind of make this comfortable for myself. Really going outside the box, doing these alone shows. We got Judy and Jody in the chat. Good to see both of you today. There's Lex. But I'm really trying to get comfortable just doing these alone shows, where if there's something that breaks and I need to get on really quick, I'm comfortable doing that. But doing these lunch shows is just helping me kind of dip my toes in the water to do that. But anyway, I'm going to start with my the dinner I took my wife on last night. The way it worked is it's a local restaurant in Delaware, Ohio, which is about 10 miles north of where I live. And because Columbus is so chaotic, for my wife and I, it's better to go to this neighboring town north of us if we're going to go shopping or go out to eat. And it's a quaint little smaller town, and we really enjoy it much more than going into the city for any of that stuff. Really love going up there. Our favorite restaurant is called The Backstretch. Delaware is known for sulky racing. It's a horse racing with a carriage behind it. And they compete there every fall for the Little Brown Jug. And so a lot of the stuff there is themed based on that. And that's what The Backstretch is. So anyway, I'm on their email list, and they do these special events all the time. And this was going to be a holiday 4-course meal with a cocktail sampling paired with each course. And you bought a table. So I bought a table so my wife and I and 2 friends could go hang out and for her birthday and do this. And we had the most fun time doing it. The chef of the restaurant came out on each course, explained why the food and the cocktail paired together. It was delicious. So I have a couple pictures that I've put out on social media. I'm going to share that real quick just so you can kind of see. And when we got there, you'll see here, there was an envelope on each one of our place settings with our name on it. And when you opened it up, it actually had the menu for the evening. And then behind it was every cocktail that was coming with the recipe for the cocktail. And you can see here that the menu it started with a charcuterie board, and it came with a Porto flip, spinach salad, which was a cranberry refresher, was the cocktail, and then beef Oscar and a twice baked potato. That came with a holiday bourbon punch, and then a flourless chocolate cake came with a raspberry margarita. This was the charcuterie board, very small. Each person got one of these. There were 2 stuffed peppers. There were some meats and cheeses. And then that was homemade focaccia bread. And it was pretty small. It was just enough to you could have a little corner of it with a piece of meat or a piece of cheese. But it had to be whole grain. It had seeds and stuff in it that really gave it kind of a hearty flavor to it. But it was really good. And then the next course, which I did not get a picture of, was a spinach salad that had they made their own balsamic vinaigrette that went over the top. It had pomegranate seeds, blue cheese, bacon. It was probably the best course of the night. I could have eaten like 18 of those salads. It was so good. Um, and actually, the chef described it as it's their holiday salad every year. They put this out on the table with their family dinner, and it's a salad they use for that, and that's why they wanted to share it at this tasting. This was the bourbon punch that they put out uh, as that's rosemary and two whole cranberries in there. Um, and what was nice is they were small samples of the cocktails, so uh, didn't get too buzzed up on it or anything like that. It was really just to pair it with the food and to see how it reacted. And then this was the beef Oscar, and you can see there's crab meat over the top with a homemade hollandaise sauce. Underneath that is a béarnaise sauce, and then a choice baked potato. And it was really delicious. And then the dessert was these little mini flourless cakes with a small scoop of ice cream to kind of finish off the evening. And it was what was amazing about this. This came with the raspberry margarita, and at first taste of the raspberry margarita, it was very citrusy, very acidy. But if you actually sipped it with a piece of cake, all that went away and it really smoothed it out. It was really interesting to kind of see all that. But most importantly, my wife loved the evening. We were there for probably 2.5 hours for the four courses. And we got to hang out with two of our best friends in the world and just got to chat and hang out and the experience was awesome as well as the service and everybody just telling stories. It was a really great time to spend her birthday, and today is actually her birthday. Um, and so happy birthday to my wife. It's really cool. Jay Birch asked, I was about to ask how the pairing made it. The pairings were really cool. And that was really fun to kind of experience because I've never done anything like that. This is very out of the box for us. Um, so it was a fun experience. One that we will probably try again in the future. Lex asks, is there surgery coming up? This is a great for her to enjoy this. It is. We haven't been able to do a lot of stuff outside the house because her ability to walk around is almost gone. But her surgery is coming up January 6th. So we just got to get through the holidays, and then she will have that surgery. She'll have a new knee on her the worst of the two knees, and then we'll get that rehabbed. Then she'll go in and have the second knee done, and hopefully she will be up and running around again. But she's super excited about that. Judy asked what surgery. My wife is having a total knee replacement done on her left knee January 6th. We have been fighting insurance companies for about 3 years because her age she's fairly young to have this done. But she played volleyball a lot as a child and she was a big time runner, and the running really damaged her knees up really bad. And it made it so that she couldn't be very active, and it's caused a lot of problems. We've been fighting and fighting, and we were on her insurance for a couple years, which was Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they were denying everything. This July, we switched back to my insurance, which is Ohio Med Plus with the state of Ohio. They've approved it immediately, and we are, and now we're smooth sailing to the surgery on January 6th, and can't wait for all of that. So, yeah, she's been in a lot of pain for a long time, and it's going to be great that she finally gets that relief. Jay Birch says, good for y'all. We always try to do a 4-course meal for anniversary, which is coming up in 2 weeks, December 31st. How does that work for you, Jay Birch? Because my wife's birthday is today, which is exactly 1 week before Christmas. And then my birthday is exactly 1 week after Christmas. So mine is January 1st. So in a 2 week span, we do all the celebrating for the year. And then thank goodness we were smart enough to get married in May to kind of break that up. But yeah, we do a lot of celebrating in a couple weeks. Lex asked about the denial. I don't want to get into much of a rant, but they denied for just about everything. Every time we would clear another hurdle, they would deny it for something else. It was just crazy. Um, and we haven't hardly used our insurance ever. And then uh, for them to keep denying it was just ridiculous. But anyway, we're on the flip side of that. We are totally approved. We have the approval letter in writing, and it is happening January 6th for sure. Um, so yeah, that is our dinner last night. And then for lunch today, I will make for my wife whatever she wants. She's actually working from home today. So as soon as this is over, I'll go upstairs and cook whatever she wants for lunch. Don't know what that is yet because she has not given me her request. Um, Before we get into the top shows and the worst show of the fall, I want to get into a little bit of the Caroline Lambray thing. I'm only going to briefly touch on this because, again, these shows are going to be appetizers. I'm not going to get into a full. I'm not going to get into full debate about this yet. Those are for our shows, our Sunday night show and our Thursday show. So what I'm going to say is I saw the clips that went wild with Caroline Lambray on the Savon show, and Dense Updates posted it as well. Other people are posting on social media. I would just implore you to go watch the entire thing and not make a judgment based on just that clip. So I watched the whole thing. I don't believe she was saying what is being implied at all. I think that there is a lot going on in her head, as well as a lot of the elite athletes right now, because there are two options out there, kind of the WFP, the CrossFit Games season. There's very little information about either of them. They're really trying to get it all into their head. What is the best route for them? And she is in a spot where she owns an affiliate and she's the coach of an elite athlete. And that gives her two different perspectives, and both that she has to figure out what is best for her in each situation. And so the interview goes on. It's an hour and 42 minutes. They talk about a lot more than that 10-second clip. And again, we will get into this more on our Sunday night CrossFit Talk show, and maybe even the roundtable tomorrow. But I know that that Carolyn and Jamie probably have some things to say about this, and we'll talk about that then. The other thing I'm going to say is that I have my notes here. She makes a lot of great points. The CrossFit Games season does change every single year, and that has to change. And she even suggests maybe taking a year off to figure it out. And she uses the example of Jaguar taking a year off of production to rethink of how they're going to do their car. And she suggests maybe a uniform layout that is the standard CrossFit floor, and that if gyms want to put it in, that's their choice, but it gives a place where people can go to do things in the more advanced stages of the CrossFit Games season. She had a lot of interesting things, and she even says in the interview that she likes to pose questions, and she doesn't often always have the answers, but she likes to question things in that vein. The other thing I'm going to say is there seems to be a lot of fight over what is a professional athlete. And I really don't think any of that matters. If you're doing this at an elite level and you're trying to make money, that is fine. what we define you as professional or not really doesn't matter in the end of it, right? It is that there are elite athletes trying to compete at a level, win some prize money, and become the fittest on earth. Whatever we call that, we call that. Whether you call it a career, whether you call it professional, whether you call it elite, who gives a shit, honestly? Like, I don't care. But there are a group of athletes that do that. And then the other point I'm going to make, and then we'll talk about this more on the other shows, is her biggest point in the clip, if you watch beyond that, is the open needs to be defined. It does not have a definition of who it's for. That we just hear rumblings that we need to make it more more approachable for people, but it's also the initial qualification for the elite athletes. What is it? And we need to define it so we can actually make it what it's supposed to be. And I think she makes a great point about that. I think we've talked about that on this show a few times in the past. And that was really the clip that's being taken was all about that. You have the affiliates want the open to be one thing. You have the elite athletes that want the open to be another thing. CrossFit's trying to make it work for both. And in some ways, it's missing the mark because there's no way to come to a middle. She doesn't say that. I say that. But anyway, I think that was her main point in the clip. But that thing at the end, the piece at the end was clipped off on both the Sevon show and replayed on Dense Updates. And so I wanted to get the full context of the interview before I talked about it. And I even think they talked about so much that I need a few more days to think about it as we approach it this weekend on the CrossFit Talk Show on Sunday night. So make sure you tune in for that. I'm going to look through a couple comments because I know a bunch came in here. So usually I eat the same thing as my wife. We just have good food in the house. Her choice is going to be something with lean ground beef or something with chicken. That's the two meats we have to cook. So it'll be something with that. What is my favorite food to make her? Whatever she wants, honestly. Like, I used to be a short order cook when I was in college. That's how I paid my rent. And so I'm actually a pretty good cook. And I can make just about anything. Back on the insurance thing, ACR talks about her husband. First of 2 arm surgeries was almost 2 years ago, and insurance still has almost 10,000 pending because the back and forth with the doc and not liking certain codes. Good. And ACR, you work in the medical field, correct? Are you a nurse, if I'm remembering right? Lex says, it was interesting hearing Lambray talk about her trying to be on seminar staff. I found that really fascinating. It's really cool that she's a CrossFit level 4. What I find fascinating is she has totally drank the CrossFit Kool-Aid. She has her CrossFit level 4. She owns an affiliate. She's not de-affiliating. She is paying for all of that to remain a part of CrossFit. Yet she's this pro coach with Jeff, and she gets caught in the middle of all this stuff. And her and Jeff both started as volunteers, which was really cool. Her and Jeff were one of the first people that agreed to come on this show when we first started way back in the day. I've always had a good relationship with both of them. Every time I see Caroline at events, she is super friendly. We hug, we talk, and it's always very cordial. And I actually love her and Jeff. I think and if you've been watching this show for any time, you know I am a big Jeff Adler supporter. So I thought it was a great interview. Craig says, I watched the whole interview. It was good. Jody Lynn, I never do anything with a doctor until I get the code they'll use. Then I'll get it approved by insurance. It's ridiculous. I know, but why do we have to take all those steps? Why? It just doesn't make any sense to me at all why we are forced to do all this legwork to just ensure that we can stay healthy. Kind of ridiculous. So let's talk about some fun stuff. So I'm going to give you my top 5 shows of the fall, top 5 TV shows that I watched. And you can agree, disagree, or whatever. Put it in the comments. We love comments on this show. Denise Moore, congratulations on Legends. Nice podium performance, Miss Moore. Now I'm going to go watch a full interview. I wasn't going to because I hate the made-up controversies happening this fall, but now I'm interested in what she has to say. I thought it was good. I think she makes a lot of great points, and yeah, that was 10 seconds of an hour and 43-minute interview. So that'll give you that perspective. So, top 5 shows for me this fall that I have binged or watched as they came out. The first one is number 5 is Tulsa King. And it is on Paramount Plus. That is Sylvester Stallone's show about a mafia member who goes to prison because he was the scapegoat and did not rat on his friends. Spent several years in prison, gets out, is then outcast from New York City to Tulsa to set up shop, and he sets up his shop there. I thought season 2, which was this fall, was better than season 1. Much better than season 1. It kind of tightened up ship a little bit and really focused the story in one direction. And some of the characters I got really emotionally attached to play integral roles in season 2. So I highly recommend that. That is my number 5 show for this fall. And Jeffrey Birchfield says, I haven't seen second season. The first was good. Second season is better. Second season is definitely better. Number 4 is Lioness. That is the Zoe Saldana show with Nicole Kidman, Morgan Freeman, where they train operatives to go undercover to infiltrate the families of terrorists, the wives and the daughters, to go undercover, befriend them, and then essentially assassinate the terrorist from the inside. The second season shifts a little bit to some stuff more domestically, and it actually was very educational for me, as well as a really well done show. What I will say about this is it is the one show that was so tense. I was literally on the edge of my seat in 2 or 3 of the episodes in season 2, holding my breath for the characters in the show. It was really, really good. Season 2 of Lioness this fall. Number 4 on my list. Number 3 is a newcomer to TV, and it is called High Potential. It stars her name is Olsen. Oh gosh, she's been in a lot of shows before. She's in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I'll think of Elizabeth Olsen. Is that right? I don't know. That's not right. Anyway, I'll think of it. But she is actually, it's a very monk style show. If you liked Monk in the past, it's someone who with like OCD, they see things that other people's don't see. Their memory is like really good. They can see when things are out of place and shouldn't be where they are. But the heart of this character is so good. And she is a single mother of 3 children, taking care of them, and she gets hired by the LAPD as a consultant to come in on cases, to kind of figure out where the evidence is. Um, it is a very, very well done show. Uh, it seems to be a little bit of an underdog in the better. I thought Denise says better than Monk. I agree. I agree. She is a much more lovable character than Monk. Monk took some time to kind of understand, where she, because of all of the stuff going on in her family life, is uh it's just more heartwarming, and the heart of the show is better than Monk. So I really, really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, Elizabeth Olsen is WandaVision. This is not Elizabeth. It's oh my gosh. I know so much about her. Her husband owns the Wrexham soccer team with uh, Ryan Reynolds, Rob McElhenney. She's married to him, but I can't think of her first name. But her last name is Olsen. But anyway, it's a great show. You should check it out. And kind of one of the neat things is one of her kids has the same um, condition that she has with the OCD. So it's kind of watching her deal with that as well. And the cast of characters are great on the show. It is on ABC. This is not a streaming service show. It's on ABC on Tuesday nights. We always stream it later because we can't stay up that late, but it's a great show. Number 2 for me is, it was mentioned in the chat already, Caitlin Olsen. That is it. Thank you, Denise. Caitlin Olsen. Number 2 for me was already mentioned in the chat, and that is Landman, the new Billy Bob Thornton show on Paramount Plus. It is about basically a fixer in the oil industry, and they're called landmen. And it is the guy who goes between the workers on the wells and the drilling operations and the owner of the oil company, making sure that they get the lease agreements for the rights to the land to drill on, all of that kind of stuff. But it is done in Midland, Texas. It is amazing. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, where wildcat drilling was a big thing. And literally right outside my parents' backyard, if you go across the dirt road behind my house, there is an oil well drilling right there. And so I grew up around wildcat oil drillers, and this really takes me back to hanging out with them, because my bus stop was a general store. They would come in to get their sandwiches and all that kind of stuff, and I got to know them a lot when I was a kid. And yeah. It is a smaller oil company, and they talk about like BP and Chevron and all of those that they're competing against. But this one is actually a smaller oil company competing against them. Denise says the first scene is captivating. Yeah, not to give much away, but it is Billy Bob trying to negotiate the lease rights to drill with the owner of the land, who happens to be part of the drug cartel. And that's how the show opens. It gives you a very good, quick look at what it's like to be a landman. So, and then my number 1 show for the fall is Shrinking. If you are not watching this show, it is the best show I've seen in years. It is Harrison Ford, it is Jason Segel. They are therapists. The premise of the show is that Jason Segel's character, his wife is killed by a drunk driver, and the show opens in the first season, first show, about where he is not in good shape because of what has happened. He has a daughter who has been affected, and their neighbor has essentially taken over raising the daughter while he is in this bad shape. And the reason it's called Shrinking is Jason Segel is actually a therapist. Harrison Ford is a therapist. There's a third Black woman who is a therapist, and they share a practice together. And it's it's initially like how all of this has affected Jason Segel as a therapist and the therapy he's trying to do to get uh, back on track. It's on Apple Plus, Denise, but it's actually a comedy. Yes, it's a very dark um, opening to what's happened, but it actually turns into a comedic thing. But again, a lot of heart with the characters. All of them are very lovable. Um, Highly recommend it. I just finished season 2 last week, and it's a great show. Again, Harrison Ford, Jason Segel, and then there's a lot of. I just finished season 2, and there's actually a How I Met Your Mother mini reunion at the end of season 2. I won't give any spoilers away if you haven't seen that. But Jason Segel was on How I Met Your Mother. He was Marshall, the big, tall, goofy guy, and yeah, there's a little mini How I Met Your Mother reunion at the end of the show, but definitely the best show I've seen this fall. Did it win some Emmys? I'm not sure if it's one. I know Harrison Ford and Jason Segel both have been nominated for Golden Globes just within the week, but I don't know about the Emmys, Jeff. But again, great show. And those are my top 5. Again, 5 Tulsa King, 4 Lioness, 3 High Potential, 2 Landman, number 1 Shrinking, and then the worst show. The worst show ever is Fire Country. If you have watched Fire Country, or if you're a fan of Fire Country, I am really sorry. But I think it is probably the laziest writing I've seen on network TV. And I've come to the conclusion that the writers have a misery meter. And if a character's misery meter goes below 8, they've got to do something to that character to get them back above 8. So everybody is always in a bad mood, fighting for something. It is awful. And I heard a rumor, or I read somewhere, that they are going to spin off 2 shows from this. And I'm like, how in the hell can they spin off 2? It's in its 3rd season. There's how are they going to spin off 2 shows from this when this one is so bad and the writers are so bad? And now you're going to split up the writing into 3 shows? Oh my gosh. Please don't. Please don't. Just put it out of its misery. It's awful. Awful, awful, awful. Denise says FBI International sucks too. I never got pulled into the FBI shows. So thankfully there, but I wish I never my dad passed away a couple years ago. My mom calls me quite a bit, and she watches Fire Country. And the only reason I even started is so that we'd have something to talk about. And I can't do it anymore. I just can't. I can't. One surprise thing I did want to point out. I talked about Christmas movies on Monday. I ended up watching Dear Santa on Paramount Plus the other night. And the premise of this movie is it's a Jack Black movie. But the premise is that a kid with dyslexia goes to write his letter to Santa and accidentally, because of this dyslexia, writes a letter to Satan. And Jack Black plays Satan, and he comes to the kid's bedroom to give him 3 wishes. It turns out to be a very heartwarming and funny movie. I think my bar was set pretty low, and it cleared it by a mile. It is funny. It is endearing. It was a really surprise, fun movie to watch. So if you're looking for like a different Christmas movie, Dear Santa really hit a home run for me. So awesome to that. And then just one news clip I wanted to talk about, and that is Kirk Cousins was benched overnight. I woke up this morning to the news that he'll be benched for the Atlanta Falcons. He's thrown 9 interceptions and 1 touchdown in his last 4 games. Those are not numbers that keep you competing as a quarterback. I do have a small rant about it, though, that like Kirk Cousins was the best play action passer in the NFL. goes to Atlanta, and they don't run any play action pass. Why would you sign a guy that does something that you're not willing to do? Makes no sense to me. But he signed for a lot of money. If they cut him, they're still going to owe him $90 million. And one thing that Kirk Cousins has been amazing at is earning money. For a second, maybe even third tier quarterback in the NFL, I'd argue second tier quarterback, his career earnings are $294 million. $294 million. And I don't think that includes the 90 he will get if he gets cut. So then we're talking $380 million in his career to be a second tier quarterback in the league. Hey, I'll be a second tier anything if you pay me $380 million. Wow. Good for you, Kirk Cousins. But dang, wow. Well, with that, it's about time to get back to work, guys. This has been Lunch Hour with the Clydesdale. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notifier so you're the first to know when we got new episodes. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or iTunes or Amazon Music or any of those podcast platforms, go ahead and leave a 5-star review. Tell us what you like about the show. Yeah, we appreciate you as always. And if there's anything you want to talk about on these shows, again, we'll just talk about anything that's on our mind. Lunch, but it's just to hang out at lunch with everybody and break up the day a little bit. Don't forget to tune in to Sunday Night CrossFit Talk, and the roundtable will be in this time slot tomorrow. So the whole crew will be here tomorrow. Then Sunday Night CrossFit Talk with Caroline and Jamie on Sunday. And in that show, definitely we're going to talk about the Caroline Lambray interview and the clip that went viral for sure, among other things. The other thing is Caroline has a topic that we keep having to skip, but it is High Rocks has a traveling version of their sport where they go to Houston, Chicago, LA, Australia, and people can then come sign up and participate together as a community. Is that something that CrossFit could put together? And how should it be laid out? So that's something to think about as we get into the Sunday Night CrossFit Talk show, because that's something we're going to talk about there is how can we make a traveling CrossFit show that the community can get involved with. With that, thank you so much, guys. We'll see you tomorrow for the Clydesdale Media Roundtable. And then I'll be back doing this show on Friday with Lunch with the Clydesdale. Thanks so much for being with me. You guys are the best. You make this show what it is. And I'll see you then. Bye, guys.